doing.
As a retired union teacher, I've been hearing attacks I heard attacks during the 2010 political season about those teachers and public employees and their pensions. Well, that was part of the bargaining process.
Right, and that's what's left out of those descriptions. It's just a way to solicit anger out of someone when they think that they don't have what someone else has.
Yes. Let's change gears a bit here now. The Minnesota AFL-CIO supports a bill that's been around the legislature to authorize a constitutional amendment regarding the election of judges in Minnesota. So without going into the details of the bill, let's just say it's a change in trying to forestall some problems before they happen. Why does the Minnesota AFL-CIO support this?
Because it's good for working people. When you go into court, if you have to go into court, you want to make sure that you have a fair and impartial judge. And I think this is a case where partisan politics tampers with that, or conceivably could tamper with that. And so we support the amendment that calls just for a yes or no vote on a sitting judge as to whether or not you think they should stay. And if you vote no, you don't want that judge to stay, and you're in the majority, then that judge will be at the end of the term, his or her term, and then another one will be appointed. We think that's a great compromise to make sure that we have good judges on board and so that we have impartial courts.
And we note during the previous legislative session, you as president of Minnesota AFL-CIO and the president of the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce sent a joint letter to members of the legislature in support of this. So, the bill got bogged down in the closing days of the legislature, as sometimes happens. But that bill will be back, and hopefully in 2012 there will be a constitutional amendment on the ballot for voters.
We would like to see that, definitely.
Okay. Speaking of the legislature, then, what are the 2 or 3 biggest challenges facing working men and women at the state legislature? What can the state legislature do for, or what do we have to guard the state legislature about doing to workers?
Well, I think one of the issues is a lack of investment in our infrastructure. And I'm talking roads and bridges and buildings, to be sure, but I'm also talking about our educational system and some of our safety nets. We need to make sure that we have strong economic development that creates jobs, and businesses want to see strong roads and bridges and that kind of thing to make sure that they can move their product back and forth. People that are starting companies that have new technologies, that kind of thing, they want to make sure that we have an educated workforce that will meet their needs. And so we have to look at how we can make sure that we have the opportunities by investing in that infrastructure. In the last 8 years, there has been literally no investment in that infrastructure. And I'll just add, too, that the repair or replacement piece of that, repairs of bridges or roads, or repairs or replacement of public buildings, that kind of thing, that's really come to almost a standstill. And that is a very good way to get people back to work quickly by putting an investment into that infrastructure, making sure that you could put thousands of construction trade workers back to work very quickly, and those thousands and thousands and thousands of construction workers will be working, paying taxes, doing more spending, so the secondary spending and economics improve. It's good all the way around.
We all do better when we all do better. We all do better, yeah.
Now, the second I just would say is the state budget crisis, where we have to really get serious about this. We had 8 years of budget cutting with nothing else to replace those dollars. And we've seen the impact. I know we've all seen the impact. And so we have to do something that brings some sort of fairness and balance to the budget process. But I also think we need to fix our tax system and make sure that everyone pays their fair share, that some of them don't pay less.
How do the highest 4% the people in the state of Minnesota paying taxes, having income, how does their percentage compare to the percentage that I'm paying or that you're paying as a middle class person?
It's significantly less. I don't have the exact numbers, but I know it's less.
It's on a percentage.
Yes, it is.
I mean, the dollar amount might be more because there are more dollars, but the percentage is lower for the higher income people. And,
right.
And that's just plain wrong.
That's what I think too, and that's what our members think.
And okay, going on, in 2010, during the 2010 election, we began to see the effects of the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that came about in January of 2010 called the Citizens United case, whereby corporations and unions can give unlimited amount of money in election. What did you observe during the 2010 process that we're just finishing now as we are taping this, but also there's enough there that we can talk about it right now, I think.
Well, let me just say that unions get outspent by a wide margin. And there's for the union movement, nothing much has changed because of this decision, because we've had a democratic process as to how we support candidates. It's a democratic process. Everyone gets to have a piece of the decision at one level or another, and so we're transparent. And we have had regulations that in place for quite a while now, where we have to report everything we do, every dollar that we spend. Now, that's where the difference is then between the unions and the corporations. The corporations can now give money from their general treasury with just the CEO deciding that. The shareholders don't have to decide on that. And we think that's not transparent, and I don't think that's a right thing to do. And they do not have to apply the same sort of rigorous standards of reporting that to themselves as we have to do to ourselves.
So we may not know in all instances what candidates or what political parties that corporations have contributed to, because of the money is funneled through Minnesotans for Prosperity or Clean Elections Committee, or any kind of nice-sounding name that a person could make up.
That's right.
And it may be funded and by corporations, and then the money applied directly to particular candidates supporting we'll say a strong business point of view on taxes, on workers' comp, on minimum wage, on unemployment. The list goes on. On and on. So that's a great concern.
It is a great concern.
Yeah. Now, with unions, we both come from public employee backgrounds, but their building trades are very important, and manufacturing trades. I'm from Detroit, Michigan originally, and anyway, what are the unique issues concerned with each type of union, and also what common concerns do they share? So that's a two-part question with three different segments. That's a very complicated question.
All right, let me just talk about the issues with each of those sectors. The building trades in Minnesota, they are about 50% of them are on the bench. There's no work.
Yes.
No work, and so that's a problem. Manufacturing unions, their work has gone overseas, or it has been replaced with a lower wage scale kind of work. So that's a problem. And public employee unions, they're getting bashed for everything. And their pensions are in trouble, and they're having a hard time with the conservatives that like to bash people. So the common concerns, making sure there's a job for everyone, making sure that it's a decent paying job with some benefits and some retirement, and making sure that they have a voice at work. So there are common issues no matter what sector you put together.
Now, we haven't talked about federal issues at all. We've been focused on the state of Minnesota. To what extent is AFL-CIO in Minnesota involved in federal issues such as Social Security, Medicare, Employee Free Choice Act, various trade agreements? Do we have a presence in Washington, or how was our voice heard in Washington?
Well, we have a national AFL-CIO who is very active in all these issues, and that filters down to us. And so when they were working on Social Security, making sure it wasn't privatized, Minnesota was working very hard on that same issue, and we're doing actions and events around the state to push to make sure that Social Security wasn't privatized. It's the same with those other issues too. We work in unison with the national AFL-CIO and with the local AFL-CIO within the state. It's seamless.
Yes. And right now, our award-winning director, Roger Carlson, and his expanded staff of union retiree volunteers are telling me that we have to wrap up this discussion.
We're just getting going.
We're just getting going. we haven't talked about the concerns of workers. They're concerned about their jobs. They're concerned about their mortgage payment. They're concerned about their health care, and they have a lot invested in what's going on in this state and in this country, and that's why it was so important for them to vote in any election, and even more importantly, it's important for them to keep the elected public officials' feet to the fire after they are elected too.
That's right.
We want our candidates to win, and we hope that they do, and we work mightily for them. But we also need to hold those candidates and to work with the other people who were against us to see if we can reach some common ground. But it's a constant process. Okay. Thank you, Shar Knutson, for being with us today and sharing your insights into organized labor, and a special thank you for being president of Minnesota AFL-CIO.
Well, thank you.
And the future of the union movement is in good hands, and we do indeed have new leadership as we face new challenges.